I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Amberley Village Council of March 11th. Please call the roll.
Richard Bardak.
Here.
Adam Frankel.
Here.
Ben Hunt.
Here.
Keely Paul.
Here.
Bob Rosen.
Here.
Jay Schatz.
Here.
Darrell Wood.
Here.
Scott Larmer.
Here.
Andrew Kakey.
Here.
Chief Wallace.
Here.
Claire Eichner.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I assume council had an opportunity to look over the minutes from the last regular meeting. If there are no questions or comments on those, we will assume that they are approved as submitted. Okay, we'll call on the village manager for the finance report.
Thank you, Mayor. The memo in your packet is a summary of January financials, and it includes also the UAN reports, the monthly reports that we provide to the Finance Committee as well to Council. But the memo is a summary of what happened during January in terms of our financials. So talking about the earnings tax, that's our largest revenue source. During the month of January, we collected $373,000 for the earnings tax. Our estimate for the year is $3,850,000. This is a good start. I did mention in our Finance Committee meeting that when you compare this to January of last year, where we received $155,000 that eventually had to be refunded in its totality, the difference of the increase for this year is about 7%. So January's off to a good start, but we also try not to talk about earnings tax on a monthly basis, look at it more from a quarterly standpoint. That way you can identify trends on that basis better. In regards to other revenues that we received, property tax, we did receive a $20,000 advance from the Hamilton County Auditor towards our property tax dollars. We have a budget there of $1.5 million, so $20,000 is just a very small amount. We will get our allotment for the first half of 2024 in April of this year. We did receive $5,700 in the local government fund, and total we took in $567,000 during the month of January. On the expense side, the village spent about $780,000 last month, so it was a high expense month, and that is because we had 3 payrolls in January. So sometimes that happens when you have 3 payrolls, and in addition to that, those 3 payrolls included 4 holidays. So we picked up Christmas, Christmas Day, New Year's, and Martin Luther King Day. So whenever you have holidays in there, that adds to the expense as well. So $780,000 for the month. So we spent about 11% of our budget. That leaves us with an unencumbered general fund balance of about $4.4 million. And that concludes my report.
Are there any questions or comments for the manager? The next item on the agenda is the swearing in of Officer Chris Perry. Chief, do you want to make some comments to council?
Yes, please.
Uh-huh.
Chris Perry's coming to us from the city of Cincinnati after 25 years of service. Chris and I actually worked together a few times on a couple different things since I worked with the Shield. And Chris, his last part of his career, he was actually dealt with peer support and working with officers and mental health stuff and things like that. So he plays a key role in this entire county, and he always has. And when we had an opening, it was pretty much a no-brainer with his history with the traffic enforcement, the traffic unit in Cincinnati, and the years in undercover work and things. He brings a lot to the table. So we recently put in for a grant from the Jewish Home of Cincinnati, and the grant is 100% funded by them. And it pays a position to have a senior program, which we've never had here. Years ago, we had bad storms, and there was different things happen, and we found out certain people lived alone, and we didn't know that. There's people on breathing devices. We took generators to houses and stuff, and I thought, this is an opportunity to have a senior officer. Also, he'll work in peer support, supporting our staff, as well as still assist other county agencies with peer support. So, and then the seniors, a lot of people living alone. So, you know, sometimes people just don't have somebody to talk to, don't know who to run things past. And then we're so fortunate in the village to have the Jewish Home and the Federation Foundation. So we have Meals on Wheels and senior services and transportation and so many things that a lot of people in our own town don't know about. So this is a way to get that out. But I'll tell you, one opportunity that I had to work with Chris was when our officer was involved in an officer-involved shooting that ended up, a person lost their life. And Chris was actually one of the people we first called that came out and actually met with our department as a whole, with a group of officers, everybody that was involved, and actually helped us work through that. And just seeing his compassion for the job that he does, it was pretty much a no-brainer of the type of people we hire. He's the type of guy we want here. So with that, Chris Perry, and today he's here with his wife, Colleen, who would pin his badge after this.
Yeah, I would just like to add, I did have the opportunity to meet Chris, and as the chief said, just in a very, very brief meeting, I could tell you he's an outstanding individual, and we're happy to have him, and I know he's happy to be here, so.
Colleen, you can just stand right here in this area.
Stand right here. And face me. Okay. Raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I, Chris Perry, do solemnly affirm.
I, Chris Perry, do solemnly affirm
That I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States of America.
that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America,
The Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio.
the Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio,
And the laws and ordinances of Amberley Village, Ohio.
and the laws and ordinances of Amberley Village, Ohio.
And I will discharge the duties of police officer
And I will discharge the duties of police officer
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Okay, the next item of business is the Finance Committee report. The Finance Committee recommends the adoption and approval of Resolution 2024-4. This resolution is a request that Amberley Village will request of Hamilton County to forward us our property taxes. In years past, we had a standing letter of authority at the county. As you know, the county collects property taxes for us, and they would advance us those property taxes as they collected them, rather than saving them and sending to them every 6 months. We have a new county auditor, and the county auditor has requested that council pass a resolution each year asking for the property taxes to be sent to the village in advance. So the Finance Committee recommends approval of ordinance 2024-4. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for the council to approve resolution 2024-4, requesting advances for Amberley Village property taxes from Hamilton County. Is there any discussion or questions? Having none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolution passes unanimously. And that concludes the Finance Committee report. We'll now have report from the Health, Education, and Welfare Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Health, Education, and Welfare Committee met a couple of weeks ago, and we've been looking at a new human, or some edits to the human rights ordinance that was passed several years ago. The Human Rights Commission, we're looking at it as well as Health, Education, and Welfare, and we had the law solicitor, Andy Keiki, look at it as well to give us some legal advice on it. The HRC wanted some feedback from Jen Scott, or got feedback from Jen Scott at Equality Ohio, and we wanted to invite her in to talk with the whole group, with both committees and with Mr. Keiki there, to get a little bit of feedback on it. There has been some concerns that this is already costing quite a bit of money and to the village in legal fees. And so while most on the committee were for stronger language, we also want to make sure we're responsible to the village in that. So basically where it kind of ended up was the Human Rights Commission is going to take back and look at some of those changes that Mr. Keiki had recommended and take out some of the things like one piece was mediation, to take that out, and fines to take that out, as well as there was one other piece, which takes out some of the financial risk and legal risk for us. So they're going to go back and look at it and then come back to the Health, Education, and Welfare Committee and see what we can do with it, so we can kind of complete this process with it, because there was concern about the expenses and staff time and energy with some of the changes with mediation. So that's where we're at.
So whatever comes out of the committee in terms of changes or in the existing regulations or process, that has to come before, that has the committee and then come before council.
And then come before
Yeah,
council.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Any questions or comments for Councilmember Wood?
Do we have any idea of timeline with the HRC, how quickly they expect to move through that?
I'm not sure, but we did express that we wanted to kind of work this out sooner. So they have a meeting coming up, I think, already scheduled. So we're hoping that they can look through it and see what they think and bring it to us. And then hopefully at that next meeting, we'll be able to look and then make recommendations to the council if we do want to change anything. I mean, it was very well processed, from what I was told, the original time around. Thank
Any
you.
other questions or comments?
I have a comment. First of all, congrats to my colleague for continuing to navigate a very challenging, unfortunately, only one of us here has a law degree. It would have come in handy for us. I don't think we're going to end up with something that everybody is happy with, and I hope that maybe in concurrence with whatever they generate to our committee, we have a resolution or something additional that gives us as a council an opportunity to reiterate our commitment to equality and human rights in the village.
I would agree. Thank you.
Okay, my light is flashing. I don't know what that means. They've actually done a lot of work, and I'd like to commend the committee. But it's, like Jay said, none of us are lawyers. It's really hard to realize, it really made me realize that the world is changing so much faster than the laws. And it was really challenging to see that some of the things that I think are inherent and should just be natural rights just haven't made it into law yet. So I think it's a challenge for us as well as the committee that we're maybe trying to move something faster than it moves.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
That concludes my report.
Thank you. We'll now go to the Police and Fire Committee. Vice Mayor Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the Police and Fire Committee met last Tuesday, and we do have a few items for council this evening. First off, in that meeting, we did hear from Chief Owens regarding our EMS services from Reading Fire Department. Overall, that partnership has continued to be a very positive relationship. We are on the final year of the contract for those EMS services. So just a few stats to just kind of jog everyone's memory. In 2023, we learned from Chief Owens that 90% of runs were completed within about 10 and a half minutes. That is all EMS runs, not just to Amberley, but Amberley and Reading and Arlington Heights as well, with an average response time of about 6 minutes and 6 minutes, 5 seconds. There we go. A reminder that all EMS runs in Amberley Village also always include an Amberley police officer who is going to be there in significantly less time than that 6 minute average. The Reading EMS is also experiencing an increase in runs overall. They've been seeing this. The trend has been a slow growth over the last few years. So they've actually, I believe a few nights ago, approved from the Reading City Council for the purchase of another ambulance to help meet that demand for EMS services. So overall, the EMS report was very positive. The first order of business for us tonight on council is Resolution 2024-5, authorizing the village manager to enter into a contract for the purchase of a police vehicle for Lieutenant Bloom, who is no longer in the audience. This vehicle would be used to replace his current vehicle with a new 2022 Chevy Traverse, and I believe that one is being purchased through Jeff Weiler, if I'm remembering correctly. So the first order of business, I'd like to make a motion for council to pass Resolution 2024-5.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for council to approve Resolution 2024-5, authorizing the village manager to enter into a contract for the purchase of a police vehicle for Lieutenant Bloom, who is no longer in attendance.
He's probably walking home in his own vehicle.
It's important, I want to make sure that gets in the notes for the minutes. I want to make sure that gets in the minutes for the meeting. Are there any questions or comments?
I have a semi-related comment. There was an accident this past week at the edge of my yard on Ridge Road involving a sedan and an SUV. This SUV hit the sedan. I mean, really, potentially totaled both cars, and the sedan had a pregnant lady in it. And both Reading and Amberley responded. Both of the people required ambulances, and I really commend our entire crew. The way they handled that situation, which was frankly scary, and I wasn't even involved in it, was very impressive. They did a fabulous job. It has been, it's been an interesting week.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of passing Resolution 2024-5, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes unanimously.
Maybe I'll come back.
You can tell Lieutenant Bloom he can come back in the meeting.
So I'll just kind of explain to you. So we did a transfer around of some vehicles, and we actually gave up one of our trucks, our service truck we use in the police department for different things. We actually passed that off to the service department. So Ryan has a truck that he could use during daily operations and things, and the manager and I met, and it worked out really well. And then Lieutenant Bloom's truck's going to go to our fleet just to have a truck to be able to utilize as we do now. But the vehicle he got is actually a used vehicle, is just like the one we had bought last time for me. Typically on a staff vehicle, to spend, $40,000 plus for a brand new one, we can get usually one off a 2-year lease or 1-year lease. And so we're getting a 2022, it's basically 2 years old and has 22,000 miles. And Weiler Group is really good about, helping us giving us the extended warranty and everything we need for the car, so. And we're hoping, getting him out of a truck will also, everyday car, gas is getting a little bit more expensive, so we're trying to be a little bit more savvy on that. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Chief. Now, the other thing that the committee learned about, I was kind of half joking, but I'm being completely honest, that our committee meeting could be summed up by grants, and I'm sure that the Chief's report is going to tell us more about a lot of those grants. However, I'll give you a quick taste of it here as we talk about the next orders of business. So the committee learned about multiple grants that the department has been able to secure. The first are related to the heroin task force. So before you tonight are two items regarding the expansion of the heroin task force. As you probably know, our own Lieutenant Tom Fallon is instrumental in leading this task force that was created in 2015 to combat the onslaught of heroin in Hamilton County. So the first item for consideration, and I'm actually going to do these in a different order than how they're printed. It makes sense for me to talk first about the position. So the first item is the creation of a new position in the heroin task force called the investigative liaison. That position is being created to be a liaison between the heroin task force and Hamilton County Public Health to be able to help in the communication and back and forth between what the agencies are doing and then what Hamilton County Public Health can do on the backside. That is being funded by Hamilton County Public Health. So the first item is Ordinance 2024-1, creating a position of investigative liaison. The second will be a resolution to purchase a vehicle for that position, Resolution 2024-6, authorizing the village manager to enter into a contract for the purchase of the heroin task force vehicle for that person. This is also being covered by a grant. So, my first motion is Ordinance 2024-1, creating a position of investigative liaison.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to approve resolution. What's the number?
I went with Ordinance 2024-1.
Excuse me, ordinance 2024-1, approving the creation of a position.
For investigative liaison.
Investigative liaison. Are there any questions or comments?
I was going to. I don't think so. Did I need to waive readings? Okay, oh.
I have a question.
Let's go with the question first.
Do we have a person already for this role?
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so in that case, then I first need to waive the three readings for Ordinance 2024-1, creating a position of investigative liaison.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to waive the three readings of ordinance 2024-1, creating the position of investigative liaison for the heroin task force. Any other questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Richard Bardak. Adam Frankel.
Yes.
Ben Hunt.
Yes.
Keely Paul. Yes. Bob Rosen.
Yes.
Jay Schatz.
Yes.
Dara Wood.
Yes.
All right, so now I would like to make a motion to pass Ordinance 2024-1, creating the position of an investigative liaison.
Is there a
Second.
second?
Second again.
Very nice. Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance 2024-1, authorizing the position of investigative liaison for the heroin task force. Any other questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Richard Bardak. Adam Frankel.
Yes.
Ben Hunt.
Yes.
Keely Paul. Yes. Bob Rosen.
Yes.
Jay Schatz.
Yes.
Dara Wood.
Yes.
Do I need an emergency measure on that as well? All right, so then I would like to make a motion to put an emergency clause on that so that it can be effective immediately for Ordinance 2024-1, creating a position for investigative liaison.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to create an emergency
Clause.
clause to pass ordinance 2024-1, creating the position of investigative liaison for the heroin task force. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Richard Bardak. Adam Frankel.
Yes.
Ben Hunt.
Yes.
Keely Paul. Yes. Bob Rosen.
Yes.
Jay Schatz.
Yes.
Darrell Wood.
Yes.
All right, and then the last piece of business then, this is the easy one. I'd like to make a motion for Resolution 2024-6, authorizing the village manager to enter into a contract for the purchase of a heroin task force vehicle.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2024-6, authorizing the village manager to enter into a contract for the purchase of a heroin task force vehicle. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none.
Sorry, my microphone and I are, there's something wrong with this.
Is that the question?
No, that's just a statement. How long does it take to get the vehicle?
Chief?
So it's already in stock.
Okay, but are they going to modify it, or?
On that one, if it is, it literally will take a day.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, it'll be a simple process.
All right,
Yeah,
thank
this
you.
is a 2024 RAV4.
They can get new ones, we can't.
All those in favor of passing Resolution 2024-6, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes unanimously.
And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much, Vice Mayor Hunt. We now have a report from the Streets, Public Utilities, and Sewers Committee,
Whew. Only going up.
which we've all been anxiously waiting for.
I can imagine. Unlike the vice mayor, I will not be coming to you tonight with need for a car. I think we'll be saving that for next year, from what I understand. But from what I understand, it's about 4 times more expensive, so. The Streets Committee met, and we had a few items on our agenda, 2 requiring resolution, 2 I'll just review for informational purposes. Like the vice mayor and his report, the theme of the night is grants. So again, our staff does a great job looking for opportunities to save the village money. One is more informational. On the street of Beachlands, there is a bridge that has some work that needs to be done. So we've been receiving a grant to allow for that to occur. And the second one, believe it or not, leaf vacuum options. The village is in need of an additional leaf vacuum or a new leaf vacuum. They are actually quite expensive, over $100,000. So our staff, again, has done a great job seeking a grant that will cover a majority of that expense on the condition that we, in some way, shape, or form, provide some of that leaf compost that is collected back to the residents. So it would be similar to the mulch service. And one I've been told that is actually a very popular option. So it's going to be another great service that will be provided to the residents in some shape or form, still working out the restrictions so that it does not actually charge or incur a cost to the village. So 2 great things that are going to enhance our village that are going to come at little to no cost to us. The 2 that, even more exciting, if you could believe it, that we will require resolutions is entering into contracts for village mowing. The first would be for the north sites and right-of-ways. The committee was asking to reward that to Fredericks. So I will make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-7, authorizing the village manager to enter into contract for mowing services of the north side municipal grounds and rights-of-way.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2024-7, authorizing the village manager to enter into a contract for mowing services on the municipal grounds, north side, and rights of way. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes unanimously.
The second resolution is 2024-8. That is for Amberley Green, also mowing. The committee met to discuss options for mowing Amberley Green to see if there's an opportunity to save the village money. While there was a slight opportunity to save the village some money, it was decided that the option and the weight and the methodology to do so wasn't worth the savings. The methodology was to in theory, mow the outer perimeter more often than the inner perimeter, and the savings just weren't there to justify the change. So with that being said, we're going to keep it as such, as it's been done in the past year, and we'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-8, which is authorizing the village manager to enter the contract for mowing for Amberley Green, and I believe that is being awarded to MS.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt Resolution 2024-8, which authorizes the village manager to enter into a contract for mowing services at Amberley Green. Are there any questions or comments?
It's always me.
You're kind of on a roll, Tom.
I am. You mentioned the leaf vacuum earlier. Is that the thing they use when they pick our leaves up from the curb?
Correct.
And mowing the green, I'm not sure that you know the answer, but does this include the mowing of the prairie every time it gets 18 inches?
No.
Okay. Do we know who's going to do that?
We have not made that determination yet. We have two things that need to occur outside of this contract. One is the mowing of the prairie garden. We'll do that according to the specs that the Nature Center provided to us. Then the other area is the meadowlands. We typically have the meadowlands bush hogged once or twice a year, depending on the growth there.
So we might be able to tie the two together.
Correct. Correct.
That's great. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Does the Nature Center grant cover any of this?
Not maintenance.
Not
It was
maintenance,
just
got
for
it.
the planting of the prairie itself, the trees and things like that. We did receive a grant from Duke Foundation that paid for benches as well as some trees and bushes. But no maintenance is included in the grant.
Any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor of adopting Resolution 2024-8, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes unanimously.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. We now turn to the Compensation and Benefits Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Compensation and Benefits Committee met on February 21st to discuss employee compensation for this year. In that meeting, it was decided to recommend to council that employees receive a 4.5% increase, agreeing with a shift differential of extra $1 an hour for night shift for our police and fire, and to increase fire pay by $300. There was an additional item to discuss regarding Juneteenth being added as a holiday, but it was decided that additional research was needed. So at this point, that one is being held for further discussion. So tonight, we want to bring to you ordinance number 2024-2, an ordinance fixing compensation for the village employees and declaring an emergency.
Another emergency.
Yes, so the first order of business is I'm going to make a motion to waive the three readings for ordinance 2024-2.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to waive the three readings of ordinance 2024-2. Any questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Richard Bardak. Adam Frankel.
Yes.
Ben Hunt.
Yes.
Keely Paul. Yes. Bob Rosen.
Yes.
Jay Schatz.
Yes.
Dara Wood.
Yes.
All right. So next order of business is I would like to make a motion to approve the ordinance 2024-2, fixing compensation for village employees and declaring an emergency.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance 2024-2, fixing the employee compensation and declaring an emergency.
You don't need the emergency on there, just approving the ordinance.
Just approving the ordinance. Any questions or comments? If not, please call the roll.
Richard Bardak. Adam Frankel.
Yes.
Ben Hunt.
Yes.
Keely Paul. Yes. Bob Rosen.
Yes.
Jay Schatz.
Yes.
Dara Wood.
Yes.
All right, thank you. And now for the final motion, I'd like to make a motion to put an emergency clause in for ordinance 2024-2 so that it can become effective on April 1st.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to put an emergency clause on the adoption of ordinance 2024-2. Any questions or comments? If not, please call the roll.
Richard Bardak. Adam Frankel.
Yes.
Ben Hunt.
Yes.
Keely Paul. Yes. Bob Rosen.
Yes.
Jay Schatz.
Yes.
Dara Wood.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. And now call on Councilmember Schatz for the Land Development Committee report.
Yes, thank you. We had a full house, as expected, for the Land Development Committee as I introduced my motion to explore limited development of Amberley Green, about 9 acres or so, to first and foremost do so in a manner that preserves the green, but also, as importantly, generates some timely income. We've been talking about spending a lot of money tonight, and certainly are not going to survive on grants alone. A lot of passionate discussion. What was great is that the tone of the hour and a half was extremely productive and balanced. There was some discussion on my proposal, concerns about the market, concerns about financial benefit for Amberley, the siting of the area that I'm talking about. I was actually greeted tonight by a letter from a resident urging we talk about things a little farther west. There was a lot of discussion overall about Amberley Green, what's happened, what hasn't happened, concern about the JCC, concerns about communication related to that, and decision at the urging of the mayor was made to table my proposal as I continue to do more research. We still have a lot more we need to learn even before moving this forward. The mayor has joined me in some of those meetings. We met with the Blue Ash Development Director to get a sense of the success they're having with townhomes and using narrow space to generate income there. I've got a meeting next week with Representative Rachel Baker, who after redistricting is going to represent Amberley. My colleague, Councilmember Bardak, spoke passionately about the need to explore opening up the west side of the property so we could get some commercial development as outlined in all of our plans. So there's still a lot more research to go, but I remain committed that we can move forward in some way that generates much needed income to maintain the green, also respect what this council has gone on record many times, protecting 60 acres and keeping 40 open for development. So there's a lot more to learn, and I look forward to bringing to the committee the results of that and continue to work with the manager and look forward to what's ahead.
Any questions or comments for Councilmember Schatz?
I do have one question. Is the committee exploring potential occupants for the clubhouse or the other pool building that's been vacant for quite a while? Those would be ready properties to investigate in the short term. But they're not getting in any better conditions. So I think that might, while you're talking to people, talk about potential uses for those sites.
All of the discussions I've had, are working off the vision plans that were done, and they include taking advantage of the clubhouse, taking advantage of the sight lines of that property. I haven't gotten so deep, talking to developers. That's obviously something that has to come at the discretion of the village and of the committee, but absolutely.
Any other questions or comments? I would just like to add that I've worked with Councilmember Schatz on this, and I can tell you that he's really pushing forward and spent a lot of time digging, and so it's, I just want to commend you on the effort that you've put in so far, and hopefully in the future it will bear some fruit.
We hope.
Yep, thank you very much. We now go to the manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. The only item I wanted to mention this evening is the annual financial statement. It is a required filing by the village to the state of Ohio on 2023 finances. So that was been filed with the state auditor's office. The annual financial statement is in a very different format. It matches our accounting system. It's not user-friendly, but it is a document that reflects what occurred in 2023. A copy of that is available on our village website and is also available at the front window in the administrative window. So if any residents are interested in looking at the annual financial statement, it's at their fingertips, or they can come here and take a look at it. And that concludes my report.
Any questions or comments for the manager? Thank you very much. You now call on Chief Wallace for the chief's report.
Okay, as Jay mentioned, we do go through a lot of grants and get a lot of grants, and we'll continue that process. It just benefits the department so much. I want to talk about another task force that was recently started that we're part of, and that's the South American Gang Task Force. Obviously, we've been here a number of times. Nearly, I believe, is 9 burglaries we've had, and that's low compared to a few other communities. But we have had the ability to utilize our officers being diligent. In the beginning, we actually identified 4 of them pretty quickly, and took 4 into custody and put charges on them. And then we around Christmas, we had another burglary, and we were able to utilize the new flock cameras that you see throughout the village as people come in. We're able to identify. What helped us on this one is the fact that we identified the cars coming in the community, but we also identified where they went, because the Romans actually got them too. So we identified the car going in the Romans, able to narrow it down. With that, and the help of using a rental company, we tracked the car to West Virginia. We attempted to get them stopped there, and we were unsuccessful. So we got a call the next day from the rental company saying, hey, it looks like they're stopped again, and this time they're in Connecticut. Identify where it was. We contacted Connecticut State Police. They weren't initially able to get to the house in a timely manner. There's a little miscommunication because they couldn't understand why we're telling them a house is possibly being broken into in this high fluid neighborhood. But they went and they found the house was broken into. The guys were gone by the time they got there, but another department in that area actually made a stop. We did, on that stop, identified a piece of jewelry out of one of the houses in Romans. That led to a lot of search warrants, things like that. We ended up filing charges on 4 of them. One of them showed back up in court in Connecticut of the 4, and we had put felony warrants on him at that time for burglary. So he is being extradited. He just got extradited back to Ohio on our warrants. And then I received a call over the weekend that we had another one show up into a police station in New York looking for some information. They ran him through the system. He also was one of our burglary suspects. So now we're extraditing that one back from New York. This has been a long process. It's a stressful process, but I want to also read an email that I got from Detective Drake today on one of from our original arrest. One of the guys, on the initial arrest, we could not put burglary charges on the guys because we could not ever put them at the property. We could put them in the neighborhood. We could put them everywhere we needed. So we ended up going with some other charges of, I'll explain this to you. Tampering charges was receiving stolen property. When I read this, you'll kind of understand, and I can give you a little bit better explanation. Miguel Conterrano Perez was sentenced to 2.5 years by Judge Wendy Cross this morning. Perez was one of the Chileans that were stopped by AVPD on October 19th, 2023. Perez was the guy who swallowed the $25,000 necklace on a traffic stop. So with that said, we had this guy swallow this necklace, and initially we didn't know. When he got to the jail, they said, hey, we can't take this guy. He's got something in his system. take him to the hospital. We set on at the hospital, ultimately waiting for him to pass this. He was able to pass it without anybody knowing, destroyed the property, so we were able to throw the tampering charge on him. He was sentenced to 24 months for tampering with evidence, which is felony 3, 12 months for possession of criminal tools, which is felony 5, and receiving stolen property, which is a felony 5. So total, we got 48 months. The 2 F5 charges will run concurrently, and to the F3 charge. So he'll actually do 24 months in Ohio Department of Corrections, so he will not be doing it downtown. And then once he finishes his 24-month, he'll be extradited to Knoxville, Tennessee, where we were able to pin him on a burglary by posting, we have a swap and tell. We posted that out there throughout all the other states. They identified other property that he had, so they actually got burglary charges on him down there. So once he gets out of this one, he'll be locked up a little bit longer. But I think it, we always tell you about things going on, but I think success stories are important. I had the pleasure of working with the mayor recently, explaining how we do things, and I think he kind of knew that we were pretty diligent on things, but, sometimes people think that we're not getting results fast enough, and there's no part of the process, of any process, that's quick. I mean, we have one burglary. I think right now we've already done 5 search warrants, and some of the search warrants take up to 3 months to get back because it might be data from computers or something like that. So we just ask people in the community to bear with us. If something happens, notify us and let us do our job, and we'll make sure it gets done. That's the end of my report.
And I might add that the 5 search warrants are for a stolen laptop computer.
Yeah, so that was from another burglary we had in the South End. It was a stolen laptop, and we start search warrants from the day the burglary happens or something happens, trying to retrieve cell information and data information and other things off vehicles. It just helps us, come up with a suspect faster. So the means are out there. It's just you gotta wanna close cases, and we're fortunate in this community, we don't have a ton of cases, so we're able to put a little bit more attention to them. And I think that's what sets us apart from some of the larger agencies. And, they would love to be able to do what we do, but we have the time to do it because we're not overloaded in cases where we can't move.
Any other questions or comments for the chief? Thank you very much.
Rich
Okay.
does.
How many other streets in Amberley do we have private residents picking up community pools with their own flock cameras? I have a follow-up.
Yeah, so right now we have Aracoma's getting one. We have one in Roman Reserve. Pepsi just added one, and Marison JCC just added one. So there's a few other communities been talking to us. Any neighborhoods that want to do it, the cost, it's a $600 with the installation, and it's roughly yearly, it's about $3,000 a year. And what they did in Aracoma, they just got together and all the residents got together and put in a certain amount of money, and they did a multi-year contract, and they just pay it annually. It might cost them $100 a house or something, or $50 a house for the year. But obviously, I wish that we had the funds to be able to do this for every community or every individual community within Amberley, but we don't. So the reason we chose our locations were based on entry points to the village. Anybody enters the village, it gives us an entry point. Now, it doesn't read only license plates, it's actually motion activated, so it picks up the motion of the car. So I had a resident stop me on Saturday evening that seen me, stating that there was a vehicle in his driveway at 11:30 at night on Thursday, but he failed to call. And so I took my phone out, I put vehicle in there Thursday night, white car in this neighborhood. It instantly brought it up, gave me a plate number and everything else. We researched it. There's an Uber driver that was looking to drop somebody off and went to the wrong house. So we always tell people, and the managers really helped us with this, is see something, say something, and Tammy got us a sign. We truly mean that. If you see something going on and it doesn't look right, it's probably not right, so please call us and notify us. We'd rather do the research on find out it's nothing, and then have to dig it out later.
Follow-up, I'd like to thank Jenny Rubenstein, who's organizing the fight for block camera on my street. I think the letter was actually distributed to people on my street today. If any other residents are interested, contact me, contact the chief. I'm happy to go over the process.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, so you had mentioned 9 burglaries. Is that year-to-date this year? Or-
No. No, 9 burgers are related to this. If you want, I can meet you after the meeting, I'll go over it with you.
Yeah.
Because typically, they don't take questions from the floor, but after you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Afterwards, I'll talk to you.
Sure, okay.
Actually, say you're sorry to him, because he's the one.
Him and his grants and emergencies.
You're the vice mayor. Okay. Anything else for the chief? Okay, thank you. Now the mayor's report. I would like to introduce ordinance 2024-3, approving Amendment 10 to the village manager's employment contract.
Second. No?
Not yet.
Sorry, I got excited.
Yeah.
We have such a great manager.
So each year, as council knows, we met and reviewed the manager's performance, and based on that, we did a survey of other village managers within Hamilton County and made what we felt was an appropriate and well-deserved adjustment to the manager's compensation for 2024. So the first thing I'm going to ask for is to waive a reading of ordinance 2024-3, which is approving the Amendment 10 to the village manager's employment contract.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to waive the 3 readings of ordinance 2024-3, approving Amendment 10 to the village manager's employment contract. Any questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Richard Bardak. Adam Frankel.
Yes.
Ben Hunt.
Yes.
Keely Paul.
Yes.
Bob Rosen.
Yes.
Jay Schatz.
Yes.
Tara Wood.
Yes.
Second part of my report tonight is to ask council to adopt ordinance 2024-3, which is approving Amendment 10 to the village manager's employment contract.
I'll second that for real this time.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance 2024-3, approving Amendment 10 to the village manager's employment contract. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Richard Bardak. Adam Frankel.
Yes.
Ben Hunt.
Yes.
Keely Paul.
Yes.
Bob Rosen.
Yes.
Jay Schatz.
Yes.
Tara Wood.
Yes.
And then finally, I would like to propose that ordinance 2024-3 be approved on an emergency basis, which will allow for this change in compensation to be paid starting on April 1st.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the passage of ordinance 2024-3 on an emergency basis. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Richard Bardak. Adam Frankel.
Yes.
Ben Hunt.
Yes.
Keely Paul.
Yes.
Bob Rosen.
Yes.
Jay Schatz.
Yes.
Tara Wood.
Yes.
Just one other very quick thing in the mayor's report. I have made it a point to try to spend some time with each of our police officers. I believe I've ridden in 4 so far, and started to get a bit of a reputation because a lot of times there's nothing going on, but apparently when I'm in the car, there's some action. So I won't bore you with the details.
I'll cut a bore and I'll cut the mayor off. They're at the point now, we might get an increase of sick time when they find out the mayor's riding with them that day.
I won't bore council or the audience, by the way, with whatever those exciting happenings have been. But if anybody wants to speak to me privately, I'm happy to relate to them. But needless to say, it's been a very educational experience. I want our police officers to know how much we appreciate everything they do. It's just been very educational, and I think, Chief, if any other people on council would like to ride with officers, I think they're more than happy to accommodate that.
100%. A number of council members, probably the majority have ridden, but I don't think anything's ever happened like the things that you've experienced. And maybe they should ride on the day you ride.
All right.
Is what I'll say.
All right, we don't need to belabor that point. Is there any other new business to come up before council?
I'm just going to throw out there, I think it's time that we take a look at our rules governing our interaction with residents. I mean, if a resident wants to ask a question, I think it should be easier to do and not violate our rules. And I know part of the measures were done during the dog discussion at Amberley Green, but we also have something on the books that say we have to ask your permission if we're going to talk to someone at the podium. So maybe I have great faith in you and the council that we can handle ourselves with residents. So whatever, I'd urge the village manager, maybe we can bring something to council to update our rules.
Concur.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, yes. We all have our little reminder of the one-stop drop recycling event, which will be Sunday, April 28th, from noon to 3 p.m. up in Amberley Green. This is a semi-annual event. It's very well attended. I think our residents appreciate it, and I'm sure people will be contacting council members to volunteer to help facilitate the event. There's no other business. The meeting is...
There will be someone doing like electronics.
Yes.
And then paper destruction, and then Goodwill will take small items, not large items.
Thank you. I'm trying to adjourn the meeting. I think the meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much.